My sister attempted to sexually assault my boyfriend and tried to play the victim, so I brutally beat her. Part 2. I thought about it for a second, and knowing my sister, there was no way I could blindly take her word for it. I turned to my boyfriend, who was blank and pale, and asked him what happened, and he responded by saying that it was actually my sister who tried to actually assault him. This was the answer I feared, and my intuition was telling me that my boyfriend was the one telling the truth. My sister yelled when he said this, calling him a liar, and I asked her to explain what happened. She said that as soon as I left, my boyfriend climbed on top and tried to initiate, and when she refused, he tried to get violent, but she socked him hard in the face. This made no sense to me, as my boyfriend's face did not seem like it just got socked. I then asked him what happened, and he could not respond. This was his body freezing up, and by this point I was sure my sister was lying. I then told my sister that there were cameras in my house and that I'm going to check right now. Once I said this, she confessed immediately. She tried explaining herself, but before she even got a sentence out, I socked her hard. I then started to wail on her, which is really not something I'm proud of at all. My boyfriend just watched the whole time. When I was done, I was crying, and my sister was pouring red. I stayed awake all night with my boyfriend, and I called the hospital for my sister. An ambulance came and picked her up, and I had to inform the police what happened the next day. I was told I could possibly be facing charges for assault myself if my sister decided to press charges, but I was okay with this. My boyfriend and I had a talk about it soon after, and we have decided to press charges. I also spoke to my parents about it, and although they are both mad that I resorted to such measures, they're saying that what I did was despicable and that I brought great shame on the family. From what I heard from them, my sister has suffered a broken nose as well as a few cracked ribs. The court cases are all settled now. Like the police officer told me, my sister tried to press charges against me for assault, but thankfully these charges got her absolutely nowhere. As far as the charges that my boyfriend and I pressed on her, these were a totally different story. The evidence we presented, which was camera footage of my sister trying to ask for the assault my boyfriend, was sufficient. The recording left no doubt as to what was happening. My sister stood up and sat beside my boyfriend. She then reached her hand for his no square and started unbuckling his belt. My boyfriend pushed her off, but she kept being persistent, eventually managing to play with his member with her hand while he literally cried. She stopped after a minute and tried to give him brain, and he ended up pushing her off again. This resulted in her spitting at him, then showing him her honkers. My boyfriend went to stand up, but as he was doing so, she pushed him back onto the couch, then climbed onto him and was saying something to him, but we couldn't make out what she was saying. My boyfriend by this point laid flat as his body went into shock, I'm guessing, and she proceeded to make out with him. She only stopped mere moments before I got back in, pulling my boyfriend up into a sitting position and rushing over to the couch to start crying just before I walked in. She was awarded jail for 90 days, which seems too little to me, but she also got a $6,000 fine, 150 hours of community service, as well as having her name placed on the offenders registry list for 10 years. She is in jail right now, and I have cut all contact with her and even my parents, and they were super vicious to me throughout this entire trial, even calling me a monster for taking my sister to court. As far as my boyfriend goes, he's doing okay. What my sister did has impacted him greatly, and our intimacy. Life is not as active as it used to be, but I'm giving him all the time and space he needs. We have also started attending therapy, individual and couples, and things seem to be getting better.